Whoa, what was that? Well, a few months back, someone by the name of Brian Young approached me with the idea of writing some music to the podcast. He politely pointed out that for a podcast that has to do with the music industry, I had very little music on the show. I thought that was a fair point. I thought about updating the music and adding a few things myself, but I have so little time for that. Brian offered to put together some new music for me to use in the show, and I decided to take him up on it. So what you just heard is one of Brian's tracks, and towards the end of the episode, you will also be hearing a couple more themes he put together for me. Be sure to let us know what you think of the new tunes in the show notes. With that, let's jump into today's interview. Today I'm chatting with Grammy-nominated hip-hop and R&B producer Richard Younglord Frierson. How are you today, Rich?
Man, I'm feeling good.
That's awesome. Yeah. And today we're going to be talking about monetizing the entire process of being an artist. And immediately I feel the weight of that because I talk to so many artists who come to me and say, I want to be able to make more money, or how do I make money? Is it possible to make money with art these days? And yet they're not really willing to look outside the traditional model of selling music and performing music. And
right.
I see so many opportunities outside of that. Is that something you often come across as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to be able to monetize your music, your creativity, because if you don't, eventually you're going to burn out if you have nothing to replenish, the passion with, and you have to worry about, keeping warm and keeping your cell phone on and stuff like that. When you start thinking about how to, maintain those things, it's very difficult to be able to focus and execute. So you definitely need to, build those consistent ideas and processes into your development, at any stage, so you can, continue to fund what you're going to do, unless you have a rich uncle, which very few people do.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like if you're depending on music to help you put a roof over your head and to feed yourself, then naturally you want to be able to monetize the thing and be able to derive a living from it. I think a lot of musicians still have a day job of some sort, and those people who are aspiring to do that. So at least they have something to fall back on. But I also know people that sometimes decide to just jump right in and say, forget the job. I'm just going to be an artist, and where the chips fall where they may. But
yeah, and that's I've seen a lot of people do that too. But it's you're rolling the dice. Now
time.
Me, I was pretty fortunate because I was able to start in the music business very young. So I still had my parents taking care of my overhead at the beginning in the early years when I wasn't making any money. But after, you start making money and you get used to it, and my, ideas, I wanted to do other things, invest in other parts of the business, with investing in artists and things of that nature. I saw just as a businessman, you have to build something in it to keep making money, or else that would have killed me, just took all my money I was making from production and stuff, So it's I mean, music to me is it's almost like gambling at the highest level.
Yeah.
Because when you win, you win big. You really do. But if you lose, then you can lose everything,
And it is good to have buy-in from your family if and when possible. When I think about what I've put my mom through, my dad passed away when I was younger, but I'm pretty sure she was scared at times because I've often chosen the path towards self-employment or entrepreneurship or some kind of artistic and creative thing, especially music, because I love music and I love making music. I'm sure she was scared at times to see me follow that path knowing that, the chance or the odds of success aren't great.
Yeah. It's funny, when I decided that I wanted to do this, my parents, they weren't messing with me. I mean, like my dad, he is like the type where, he wanted me to take piano lessons. I wouldn't go. He brought me a guitar, broke it. I really wasn't trying to go through his guidelines on what he wanted me to do. So years later, when I decided this is what I wanted to do, they were very hands off. So, but I'm actually appreciative of that, because it forced me to think of other ways, and I actually sold raffle tickets to raise money to buy my first drum machine. And, that was just an experience within itself, kind of like very old school crowdfunding.
Yeah, something I think you're speaking to there is the ability to problem solve, which I think is one of the most critical things as an entrepreneur, to be able to figure out a way where there appears to be no way, or be able to look at alternatives that other people may not see.
Oh yeah, problem solving in the music business is like that should be like a class within itself, because I don't know if anything is ever going to go as planned perfectly. But you have to be able to fight your way through it to get to the money.
Oh yeah, it's scary, with some of these marketing campaigns that I've done and I'm doing recently. You do outreach and then you get a percentage of responses, and that's not guaranteed at times. Connecting with so many people and sending out releases or samples, or just the opportunity to be on a blog or a podcast, it's you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. So what do you do to take care of those problems?
I just kind of see it as a numbers game. So if I'm not hitting the mark with, a few hundred, it's time to increase that number to a few thousand and see where we can go from there.
Right. Yeah, and it is a numbers game. It is a numbers game. One of the things I try and do is keep myself connected to younger, fresh people that are just beginning their careers, and I do that by I do classes at Berklee College of Music, at Pace, different schools, to try and just stay connected. And one of the things I try and tell the students is, to break in this business, I always tell them to set a target, somebody who can, who they feel can help them with the next step of their career. And you got to reach out to them, and you got to prepare. You got to prepare and be prepared when you meet them to, be of value. You have to, and then sometimes it doesn't work, and you just got to keep doing it. It's a numbers game. There's so many people out here, so it's a numbers game. And with my story, it's the same way. I started my career at Bad Boy Entertainment, and how I got with them is one day I was at school, and these girls were talking about Craig Mack and Puff Daddy, and these were cute girls. So I said, oh man, I think I need to get down with these guys. And I called information, and I called. At that time there was a receptionist, and I said, look, I'm 16. I make the best tracks in the world. It's like, who do I need to talk to? You guys need to work with me right now. And this is when they first opened. So I guess she didn't know she wasn't supposed to give out any names, but she gave me a name, Harv Pierre, and who eventually became the president of Bad Boy. So I kept calling him, and then I had one more quarter left, and I called my brother, and I had him call. And by the time I got home from school, I had a meeting there the next day. But what's great about that story is not the fact that I made it through, is that they weren't the first people I called. I called Dallas Austin, DARP. I called up this company, like a few other companies. They weren't the first one. So it's like if I would have stopped because the other ones didn't work, then I just would never made it anywhere. It's you just got to keep going. And what I tell my students is that you got to look at them as the lucky person. So, for example, Bad Boy was lucky to work with me. Hey, and they were. We made a lot of money together. So they won with the situation. And let's take DARP for example. I was supposed to meet with a guy named Kevin Wales at DARP, and when I got there, he left early. He didn't even have the respect to have the meeting with me. But a year later, he was managing a group 112 that was signed to Bad Boy, and I was producing them, and I met him, and I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" He said, "No. Do we meet?" And I said, "No, because you left before the meeting." So I was able to kind of remind him, and I tell all my guys, I said, "Look, if they don't, if it doesn't go your way and they don't act right, then it's a beautiful thing because you're going to be able to remind them of that later on when you succeed, So I think I want everybody to go with that kind of attitude.
Do you find reaching out in that way to be somewhat nerve-wracking? Because I know I've sent emails or made phone calls to those people, and then it's not until I get a yes that suddenly the weight of it all comes crashing down on me, and I was excited till now, and suddenly it's like, oh no, what am I going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing. You have to prepare for it. You do it with the expectation of and what you're going to do. And also when you think of it in terms of how you said it before, with it being a numbers game, it totally takes the weight off because there's not just one person. It's not just one company. It's not just one way to succeed in this thing. And you never know where it's going to come from, but you got to be in it to win it. So you just keep on plugging through. And I still cold call people. It's no problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's totally the way I see it, and I think your chances of getting blacklisted, you might make a few mistakes along the way, but you're probably not going to be blacklisted just for reaching out.
No, and even if listen, people don't have time to blacklist you. It's not like there's a website they could just put your name. And say, oh, but they're going to, I guess forget about you. But what remixes all of that is success. And once you succeed, somewhere else, they're going to forget they ever met you, and they're gonna have amnesia for real. They'll be like, "You called my office?" No. And it happens time and time and time again. Shoot, it happened a few times to me,
Yeah. And that speaks to persistence as well, which I think is often overlooked. It sounds simple enough. Keep going, keep doing it, keep trying, keep going through the numbers. And yet, when it comes down to the practicalities of it, some people do just give up.
Yeah, and that's a sad thing, just giving up. Yeah, nah. This music thing is it's not for the weak of heart.
No. As it turns out, it isn't, and I've had to build a thicker skin and become more resilient over the years, but I'm glad I stuck with that process.
Yeah, and one thing too, I try and tell a lot of the artists I work with is that this thing is a mental thing, more than anything. You really have to brainwash yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't see reality as it is. Like, let's say, you're just a beginning artist. You don't have the resources. You don't have the hits. You don't have this. You really have to, create in your mind. You have to see it totally different. You really have to. Or else these no's, because you're going to get a million of them, will crush you. I mean, they will crush you. You'll start like, maybe I don't have it. Maybe I don't, nah. But you really have to brainwash yourself to know that it's there and that, you don't know how it's going to come, but it's going to come some way. That's like so important.
That's huge. I love that. So, what are some monetization streams you often find artists missing out on?
Well, artists at the beginning, say, they have some good music, and everybody has a tribe. Even it may be five people in that tribe, but everybody has a tribe, so you have to kind of super serve that tribe and get them to help you move to the next level, and by financing those moves to the next level, so some of the things that they can do is like, I would say, take advantage of like the superphone. Have you ever heard of superphone?
I haven't.
Well, superphone is a product by Ryan Leslie. You familiar with who he is?
I'm not.
All right, Ryan Leslie is he's an artist. He was signed to Universal Records, producer. He wrote a gazillion songs. He's actually a phenomenal songwriter. But he became a very tech music business guy, and also he's also an alumni of my team. One of the people that I helped bring into this business. He's one of my guys. So he created this platform where you can have your fans pretty much call you, and you can get their information directly. They can purchase everything from you. They can purchase the tickets. They can purchase the music from you and add it to their streaming services. They can have direct communication with you, so you can really upsell them to many different things, whether it's merchandising or personal meet and greets and stuff like that. And I think that is a dope thing to do. It's really important, because like when somebody buys your song off of iTunes, you see that sell there, but you don't know who it was that brought it. You just don't have the information. You get your responses your like statements on Spotify. You had 1 million plays, you get some money, but who, where, how did it happen? So this gives you an opportunity to kind of connect more with them, so you can see where they are, so you can set up shows and kind of set up opportunities to make money over there. And you can get them to buy other things other than the actual music, and you can also do some crowdfunding things if you want to do that too.
What came to mind for me was episode 61 of the podcast with Eddie Meehan of Wonderful Union. Had the chance to chat with him about fan engagement. He was talking about after parties and membership sites and meet and greets and stuff like that. So I think that's partly what you're talking about, is sort of catering to your fans in that way. And then episode 89 with Brian Perlucci of Evo Band Apps. That's a premium but powerful tool for connecting with your fans through mobile devices. So those are some ways in which I could definitely see that playing out.
Yeah, that's like I feel like for up and coming artists right now, that's mandatory. That's mandatory. And then another thing I suggest is doing music specifically to get brands involved and licensing placements.
Right.
Right now, one of my main businesses is a company. I'm a partner in a company called License to Rock. And what we do is we place music on TV shows, films, and commercials. And it is a heavy volume business. I mean, people need music every day. And, right now, because there's like, a lot of people doing music, you're not getting the big sync fees that we used to get, but they're still substantial, and they still can, give you the promotion you need to take it to the next level, So I would suggest, I always tell my guys, look, when you are a new artist, you need to do like what I call like a evaluation of your artist, of your brand, you know. So what I mean by that is like, okay, what type of car would this artist drive? What type of drink would they have? You know, what type of things, and see what companies align with that, and think for them, and see if you can, you know, do some songs that are in alignment with what they got going on, and then pitch them, you know, because they will pay, and at the very least you can get exposure, you know, because they want to, you know, move their brand to the forefront, and they want to have that cool factor, and music is a way to give them that cool factor. So you help them, but you point it, you know, you become like a sharpshooter, you know. And I know a lot of times, you know, creatives, you know, they don't want to mess with their art. You know, they feel like it may be a step down if they're doing stuff with, you know, on purpose and with that in mind. But I think it's important part of the puzzle for balancing the books and making money, you know.
And I know that licensing and placements are huge and kind of have been that way for 15, 20 years. I also know that that's a constantly changing field and area. So what does that process look like right now? How can artists go about licensing their music?
Well, there's a few different ways they could do it. The easy way is calling a company that's already doing it, you know. So they can call, you know, License to Rock, or there's like, you know, a gazillion other companies that do it. And, you know, we all kind of put the music in, you know, in our system, and we, you know, usually companies have their go-to people that lean on them, you know. So we do a lot of music for like a lot of reality shows, and a lot of like just weird stuff like Cheaters, and, you know, background music. We do a lot of the stuff for Revolt TV. And so we have our, you know, supervisors that, you know, rely on us. So chances are we'll be able to place some stuff there. And then we also have a team that goes out and finds specific, you know, relationships with, you know, like people looking for a commercial. You know, they'll call us, and we'll see if we have anything that fits, or we'll alert our writers and get something, you know. So all of the companies do that. So you can do that. And it's most of the companies, we all like charge the same things. You know, we usually split the sync fees and the royalties, stuff like that. It's kind of just average in this business. But you can directly go to these people yourself. And that's a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a little bit more time, but it can be more financially rewarding.
Yeah, that was my impression of it as well. Like, there are a lot of websites out there, and like you said, you can reach out one by one as well. But there are a lot of sites out there that will help you put your music in front of decision makers. I don't know how well that works, or if you can have a high level of success without being, I think, versatile with your music.
Mm-hmm.
But that is available to everyone.
Well, it is, you know, and it's funny because, like I said, I have a company that does it. But if I'm a new artist, I would choose the second way. You know, I'm just being real with you. We have tons of music that comes to us, and we pick what we think is the best, right? It may not be your thing. You know, you believe in it a million more % than we do, you know. So I think it's worth taking the time to research and to reach out and make those relationships, because you can also, it won't be just a one-off. If you make the right relationship, it can kind of keep going. You know, you get with the right music supervisor, and then they'll introduce you to somebody else. I mean, that's how I got into it. You know, that's why I got into it. You know, when I started, there was several companies doing it, but I'm like, well, what's going to make my music stand out? What's going to, you know, what's going to make us stand out? And so I started, just developing relationships and being where a lot of music people weren't, and meeting people that way, and cold calling people, sending out stuff. And I started building so many relationships that we were like, we need to upscale this thing and start bringing a larger amount of music through, more than just say, me and a few of my guys doing it. Like, we need thousands of pieces, to keep going through this, machine that I built piece by piece, so it can be done. I've done it, and I think that it's worth it for new acts that really, believe in themselves to do that, because it's worthy of the financial reward now, but also the relationship reward later, because the relationships are like, it's one of the most important things in this music business. You need to meet people and build relationships with them, because everybody changes roles, everybody changes roles. So this person may be an intern today, may be something tomorrow. And it's the relationships that allow you to, adjust and keep on being successful. So I'll give you an example of that. Like maybe 1998, I moved to California for a summer just to, mess around. And some friends I met over there, they were like actors, stuff at the same time, So we hanging out and we became really good friends. Fast forward, these guys are now producing movies, and whose company does the music for their movies? Mine, and it's because of relationships. It's because, so yeah, it's about music. It's about building as many relationships as possible.
I totally agree. A lot of the great opportunities that I've had over the years have certainly come through relationship, and pretty much not through any other qualification or experience or skill necessarily. Obviously, they see something in me in terms of skill or my capability, which is why they're asking me. But I think it has so much more to do with that relationship, and then the willingness and the attitude to do it.
Oh man, it's so crazy. Like, and I'm telling you, you have to be open for anybody, because you don't know who that person knows. You have to be open. I'll give you an example of that. The same summer I moved to LA, ended up meeting this guy named Del Gaboldo, who's actually still a really, really good friend of mine. So he was an actor, and he was in the Mickey Mouse Club. So he had like a group that wanted to do some music. So we hung out a few times. He was a real cool guy. So I said, yeah, I'll help you out. No problem. Hey, I got nothing to lose here. And helped him out. Nothing happened with that particular act, but we built our relationship. So he says, hey, I have some friends in town I think you should meet. And he said, I'm going to come by your house. I said, okay. He brought NSYNC to my house in 1998. Right? These guys were on fire, right? So I met those guys. We hung out. We become friends. They introduced me to one of their producers, a guy named Tony Katora, who at the time he was based in Germany. He had a label out there. So me and him became friends. So I was producing for acts on his label. Then he introduced me to a guy in Turkey. He had a label. I was producing for that label. Then they introduced me to a guy in Romania. They introduced me to a guy in Russia. I do so much stuff overseas now. It's not even funny, still to this day. Over one relationship, me pretty much, donating some time to somebody in 1998. It's crazy. And you have to build the relationships. If I wasn't in that open spirit of, just go with the flow and, try and help and be of service to as many people as you can. If I didn't have that, I would have closed myself off from all of those things, which still continue to keep my lights on to this day. So relationships.
And I've heard that from a lot of other experts I've talked to as well. So totally believe in that. Is there anything else you'd like to share on monetization?
Well, I think that as an artist, what you do, and as with your development of yourself, is a talent within itself. So monetize that. Help other artists develop themselves. If you have to record. And I'm sure if you're like a singer, you're vocal producing. If you don't know how to do it, learn it. But then you charge other people for that. You really have to break this thing down into miniature income streams to make sure that everything you do benefits you. And don't think that something is too small. Like I know some producers and they're like, I don't want to engineer. I don't want to, I'm a producer. And I'm like, yo, do you know that the labels will pay engineers first? You know what I'm saying? The labels pay engineers first. You have to wait for, as a producer, number one, they're going to try and shortchange you, but you have to wait until the song is has a slot on the album, the paperwork is done for you to fully get paid, all this stuff. But as an engineer, they pay you within 30 days. So until you get to that point where your royalties are keeping you, good to go and all that stuff, you engineer, you make that money too. You got to do what you got to do.
Great tips. And I totally believe that, especially as somebody who's had a hand in everything, even if I wasn't great at it, engineering and producing, mastering, mixing, investing, writing songs, the whole shebang. So being a session player. Yeah,
you got to do it.
Yep. And I just want you to reflect on where you've come to this point for a few more questions. The first is, what would you say is the biggest challenge or obstacle you've overcome?
Okay, the biggest challenge and obstacle is when I decided to do licensing. Because it's very different, a very different market from what I'm used to as far as like the labels and stuff like that. So my clients were no longer, the labels and stuff like that, but they were more of music supervisors, but also like the brand managers at the agencies that do commercials. They have their own way of working, and we wanted to get, a lot of commercials. So I had to kind of start from the beginning and adjust my way of thinking and also build more and more and more relationships. So I think just being so comfortable and being used to something, it was a challenge to break out of that. And also, it took a lot of investment as far as money too. We hired some cool people and we roll in the dice as we do in this creative business, So that was one of my most challenging things that I've done in this business. But I think where this helped me through it is the trick I told you guys before. I just my mind is brainwashed. I know that I'm gonna win. I don't know how. I don't know what. But I know that if something goes wrong or something's not working, all it is more stories for my book.
Yeah.
And I think I can attribute that to my father. My father always be like, you're gonna write your book, so you gotta write a journal and remember these things. So I'll look at things like that. I'll say, well, all right, this is just some stories for the book.
On the flip side of that, what would you say has been your biggest victory?
My biggest victory so far has been my biggest victory was my group home. Now I'm gonna explain what that is. Now back in the '90s, um, Diddy would take the production team. He'll take us away, like we'll go to like Trinidad or the Bahamas and work on albums. So we'll go away. We'll work on like maybe 4 or 5 different albums at the same time. And during those trips, we would play basketball. We would joke on each other, and we would work. It was fun. It was a special energy where everybody was just going for the same thing. And I really feel like that is what made the hits from the Bad Boy Golden era. So I decided that I was going to create that energy myself. So I took a 2-family house and converted it to a group home full of studios for songwriters and producers. And I picked, I picked some good people, but nobody was established. And I said, well, look, you come move in the house. You don't have to worry about nothing from the outside world. We had a cook, I had somebody to clean. All we had to do was create and have fun. And my first time I did it, my goal was for us to place 10 songs in like 4 months. I wanted us to place 10 songs in 4 months. We ended up doing that in like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Because the energy was so good. And some of the writers that came out from that was like Ryan Leslie, Keith Harris, who now is a producer who does a lot of stuff with will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas. Christopher Henderson, who does he's a great songwriter, did like Blame It for Jamie Foxx, and many, many others. So I think that was my biggest success because I wanted that energy. I wanted that feeling, that excitement, and I was able to recreate it. And it's a great thing. This energy. I mean, that's what we're selling here. Music is selling energy, good feelings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And are there any books or other resources you would attribute to your success?
Yeah, I think Think and Grow Rich.
That's a good one.
I was able to get my hands on that as like an early teen, so that helped me with my whole brainwashing thing. That, and I would recommend this book. It's wait, I gotta tell you this book. It's actually I think it's How to Unfuck Yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that book is it's incredible because it at the end of the day it tells you that nothing really matters. Nothing really matters. So you have to go hard, and you won't lose anything. You just go at it. And let me see if I can give you one more book that has helped me. It's funny. It's a similar title to the Unfuck Yourself. The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to the whole thing of you have to move with no apologies. You have to. And these books help reinforce that. This is your world. Make it happen. People think too much. You'll think yourself out of some action.
Yep. I've had that issue before, thinking way too much. So I get that. Well, it's been great. So thank you for your time and generosity, Rich.
Listen, thanks for having me. It's been great. I've checked out a few of the episodes. So I'm a fan, and I'm glad we were able to get on and hopefully spread some information to those guys out there.
Absolutely. Hopefully, we've inspired some people. Is there anything else I should ask?
Nah, I guess, guys, if there's any way I could be of assistance to you guys or anything, I mean, you could just hit me up on my Instagram or something. It's Rich Younglord. That's my Instagram name, at Rich Younglord, RichYounglord. And DM me, and I'll respond back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right. So it's been real. I'll talk with you in a little bit.
Absolutely. Talk to you again soon. And I'm back to wrap up the episode. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I know I got lots out of it. You might not know this, but one of the main ways I generate revenue for the Music Entrepreneur HQ is with my books and courses. So as always, I'm going to offer a gentle nudge to check out my current offer, The Essential Guide to Music Entrepreneurship. I've received a lot of great feedback on this handbook. Christopher Sutton from Musical You said, for any musician wondering what it's going to take to make a living with their music in the modern world, this book is a tremendous all-in-one resource to answer that question for you. Interested in finding out more? Simply go to musicentrepreneurhq.com/essential, and don't forget to check out our limited time offer while you're there.